A couple of months ago, I went to see Ron and asked him about some technology that I might use to create a wiki in class. And I'm kind of a technophobe, so I'm not at the cutting edge like some of you, but it is possible. And through a bit of help, he put me onto this thing called Padlet. I've since discovered that it's used fairly extensively in, yeah, I might have the clicker, thank you, in sub-university education. And it used to be called Wallwisher, so some of you might be familiar with it under that term. But it was brand new to me, and I think it was fairly new to Ron at the time. I'm going to introduce you to that by showing you some of the ways I've been using it in class just in the last 2 weeks in a human resource management class. Okay. So what's a Padlet? It's a virtual wall and collaborative space that anyone can access once you give them the link to it. You can show it on your screen, and it will show up on anybody's smart device. So any smart device students have in the room, a phone, a tablet, anything, they can go there and start posting stuff if you're using it live in class. It sort of multiplies the amount of airtime for participative discussion. If you've got 5 minutes, not many people can actually say something, but if they're all allowed to post simultaneously, you have 5 minutes times the number of smart devices in the room. It's also less threatening as a way to contribute for people who aren't real confident, perhaps, about speaking up in front of the whole class. Okay. So I'm using it 3 ways this semester, and I'll talk about each one of these and give some examples of how I'm using it in each of these 3 ways. I'm sure there will be many, many more ways we think of throughout the semester. So first of all, if you've got a smart device, it's okay to turn it on or open it up. And if you would like to go to this spot, if you've got the slides open, there's a hyperlink. Otherwise, you can type it in. There is an underscore between my first and last names. And what we're going to use this particular Padlet for during the talk is as a back channel. So if you have questions, if you have ideas, oh my gosh, I can use it for this in my class, just post live while I'm talking, and at the end we'll go back to that and see if the group has contributed any thoughts or has any questions about it. So are we ready to move on, or are you still looking at the address? Yes? All right, so I'll show you some of the Padlets I've been using this semester in each of those 3 categories of in-class discussion, pre-class preparation, and wiki. And I'll also demonstrate through this a couple of choices of layout format, which serve best for different kinds of discussions. So what I do first or early in most classes, this isn't working, here we go, where is it? Okay, I need to click on that one. First class, we have a bit of a conversation, hello, about a classroom code of conduct, what's going to make it work better for both of us. And for this, I use the stream layout in Padlet. And instead of the usual whole class discussion, I just had people start chucking stuff up there that they thought ought to be in our code of conduct. Then we talked about it. I asked them a few more things, and we eventually agreed. This is the raw input for that. It's small on a screen, but they're also looking at it in their own device, so they should be able to read it. Okay. Then I took that, I cleaned it up, I posted it on iLearn, so that's just sort of raw input. Second thing I do early in the first class is what is human resource management anyhow, and who's responsible for those different functions. So first it's what is human resource management? When you think of that, what functions do you think belong to that? So they chucked up a bunch of activities. That was step 1. Then step 2 is I said, now wait a minute, HR stuff is done by different people in organizations. Some of it's done by the HR specialists in the HR department. Some of it is done by line managers. The upshot of this conversation is if you're going to be any kind of manager, you need to know this stuff. Right? So then we take one of those and discuss, say, selection. Is that done more by HR people or more by line managers? You can then drag and drop the boxes if you've used the free-form layout. So we put things on the right side that were more about HR managers or line managers do that, and more on the left, the HR specialists do that, and some end up in the middle. You could pre-populate a Padlet with some categories and then have them post their stuff nearest the category that it fits in, for instance, if you want to use that for sorting kind of a task. Okay, another thing I'll often do at the start of the legal lecture is a bit of a whip around and just ask each person to contribute what they already know about a way the government might regulate the employer-employee relationship. This is a lead-in to the class before we've discussed this in any detail. It takes quite a while to go around 30 people, and you get to the last one and they're having a hard time thinking of anything. So this time we did it simultaneously. This is the grid layout, so things come up in a little bit tidier format. And then we could talk about some of them as we went along, or foreshadow. We'll discuss that a lot more next time. Now, this is not what the list looked like when they finished. It was a little bit messy. There was some redundancy. There were some incomplete entries. There were some things that were just wrong. So I've since gone back and edited it so that it's more correct and more thorough. And now we've created for them a mini review tool, right? And these Padlets will be available to them anytime in the class. They can always go back to the link and go, yeah, I remember. That's what we were talking about that day. Another way to use it is as an exit ticket at the end of a session. So I'm trying to have one of these at the end of every major topic. And before they're allowed to leave, it's okay, let's think about main learning points. What do you want to remember from today? Or how can you apply this from today? This is one where they put stuff up, I think, individually. Yep. But another way to run it so you don't lose the interaction would be to have each table discuss. I'm going to do that today. The 5 most important legal things you need to remember if you've got a business, own a business with 20 people in it. And then I'll go to each table and say, table 1, put up one of your things and let's discuss that. Table 2, put up a different one of your things. Table 3, table 4. So they've had some conversation and they're feeling some ownership of their contribution as well. I haven't used some of these yet, although I'm about to. In managing a case discussion, you're often tied to the whiteboard because you're putting lots of stuff up. Conceivably, you could do this on a Padlet as well. You could have headings like, what's the problem? What are the choices of solution? How are you going to implement your solution? And even have a student nominated to be the one recording as you walk around moderating the discussion. You can use it as for back channel comments like we're doing today, if anyone's put anything down. It's been suggested you can use it if you're playing a video. You give listening assignments, same or different to all people, and they are posting as they're watching the video. Some people have used it for feedback on peer presentations while they're happening. You could certainly use it as an opinion poll, although I'm sure there are better techniques to do that if you just want a count of yes or no's, but also to put up an open-ended question. What do you think about this? And then that leads into a conversation. And if you're really brave, you could ask them to post feedback on the effectiveness of your class or your lecture or your techniques that day. Okay. I'm using it for some outside of class methods. So they have to read some articles, and I am having them for each one. It's optional, but they can go to the Padlet for that article and post some, post some comments on that article. What did you learn from this article? What do you want to remember? How can you use it? It is optional. Not everyone's doing it by any means. And you'll see there are initials there. It's optional for them to sign that, but I did say if you've posted stuff there, I'm going to keep an eye on that, and it's basically possible to participate a little bit even if you're not here by doing that. These things also could facilitate a classroom discussion of that article when you do choose to discuss it. I don't always. And provides sort of cliff notes for them as well as a review tool for end of semester. This is what my colleagues thought and I posted about this article. And these links will be available to them again all semester long. One day I ran out of time, go back to the slide, for my exit ticket. So I just said there's the Padlet. After class, think about what you want to remember. You can post on the Padlet your summaries, your ideas there. And again, you can put your initials on those and maybe get some credit for it. And the original plan was I wanted them to do some kind of wiki project. So I'm going to have teams of 3 create a Padlet, each on a different topic that I've specified for them, topics chosen from throughout the subject, like how to plan a recruitment campaign. And their job is to find resources, all kinds of resources, online, videos, websites, not just to reproduce my lecture and not just text, please, not just text. This is the only option they get to do stuff that's not just text on the Padlet. So they've got to lead people through it. And by way of review for the final exam, the last 2 sessions will be each team presenting their Padlet and walking folks through it. this is the key things we think you need to know about how to do a performance appraisal. Really great video we showed how not to do it. I'm hopeful some of them will make their own videos to put on YouTube and then put a link in here. So just to give them an idea, I did find one online. It's about a different topic altogether. It's a resource wall. It's not as organized and linear as a tutorial as I want theirs to be, but it'll give them an idea of the kinds of things they can put online if they want to. And I think it will be a good review for the exam as well. If you're interested in this, there's a ton. Oops, can we go back to the slides? I'm glad you're here. There's a ton of resources available, lots of little videos. A lot of this are from high school or elementary school teachers that have been using it, but lots of good information. There's a quick how to do it mechanically, which I'm sure I don't have time to show you, but it's quite simple because I can do it. You also might want to upgrade from the free version to Jetpack. It gets you a little more in the way of templates and styles and so on. So we'll see if anyone has posted anything on our back channel. We do. Lost dog, huh? Oh, wow. Okay, with, now, can we grab that and move it? Probably, I probably can't move it because I'm not logged on. Only the person who posts it can move it. So ever put that on, if you can move it, I think there's some comments underneath of it. Nope, whoever put that picture on, if you move it, I think there's comments underneath. Anyhow. Yeah, if I'm logged on as me, then I can move anything, but otherwise people, unless you change it, you can do permissions to where people can move anybody's posts. Okay, so I guess I'll stop. I have no idea how that is for time, but it seems like a good time to stop.